A woman in Philadelphia held something in her hands while she prayed for 12 minutes, and before sunrise the next morning, her daughter called her for the first time in 3 years. Teresa Morgan had not spoken to her daughter since the day she moved out in anger. She had prayed every single day for reconciliation. Nothing had worked. Until one priest shared what Pope John Paul II documented about what happens when you hold a specific object while praying. Before the sun rose that morning, her phone rang. Teresa Morgan was 68 years old. She lived alone in a small row house in South Philadelphia. Her daughter had left 3 years ago after an argument about faith and choices Teresa could not accept. Since that day, she had prayed every single morning at 6. She attended daily Mass at St. Monica Parish on 17th Street. She said a rosary before bed. She lit candles. She made novenas to St. Monica, to St. Anne, to Our Lady of Sorrows. She fasted on Fridays. She offered her communions for her daughter. She asked 3 different priests to pray. She joined a prayer group at the parish that met every Thursday evening. She donated to missions in her daughter's name. She wrote letters her daughter never answered. She left voicemails her daughter never returned. Nothing changed. The silence between them grew thicker. Teresa felt her prayers hit a wall and fall back into her lap. She began to wonder if God was even listening. She began to wonder if she had done something so wrong that her prayers no longer reached him. She could not say this out loud to anyone. She went to Mass. She prayed. She smiled at the other women in the pews, but inside she felt abandoned. Father Michael Preston had been a priest for 31 years. He served at St. Monica Parish in South Philadelphia, where Teresa attended daily Mass. He had worked as a chaplain in 3 hospitals and 2 nursing homes before being assigned to the parish in 2010. In those 31 years, he had heard more than 15,000 confessions and witnessed more prayers offered in desperation than he could count. Father Preston had studied the writings of Pope John Paul II extensively during his years in seminary and returned to them throughout his ministry. Pope John Paul II wrote in his apostolic letter Rosarium Virginis Mariae that physical objects blessed and held during prayer were not superstition, but sacramentals, channels through which grace flowed more freely when the intention of the heart was pure. Father Preston discovered this teaching again during a retreat in 2018 when he reread the section on sacramentals and the role of tangible signs in the spiritual life. He realized that many of the faithful had been taught to pray with words alone, never knowing what Pope John Paul II had documented about the power of holding something blessed while presenting a petition to God. You have prayed for someone you love for years, and the situation has not changed. You have asked God to heal a relationship, to protect someone far from the faith, to bring someone back who has walked away, and your prayers feel like they are dissolving into silence. You have wondered if God hears you at all. You have wondered if your prayers are too small or too selfish to reach him. You have felt the terrible loneliness of praying and hearing nothing in return. The error you have been making is not a failure of faith. You were never taught that prayer is not only words spoken into the air. Pope John Paul II documented that God gave us sacramentals for a reason. Physical objects blessed by the Church carry grace. When you hold them while you pray, your petition is carried not by your voice alone, but by the intercession attached to that object. You have been praying with your voice. You have not been holding what would carry your petition directly to heaven. Father Preston had seen this pattern before. He had prayed for people himself and felt his prayers fall short. He had knelt in his small bedroom at the rectory late at night and asked God why certain petitions seemed to go unanswered when they were offered with complete sincerity. It was during one of those nights in November of 2018 that he opened Rosarium Virginis Mariae again and read the section on sacramentals. He had read it before, but this time one sentence stopped him. Pope John Paul II wrote that a blessed object held during prayer becomes a sign of faith made visible, and that visibility itself drew the attention of heaven because it reflected the incarnation, the Word made flesh, the invisible made visible. Father Preston sat at his desk and held the small wooden crucifix his mother had given him when he was ordained. He had held it 1,000 times, but he had never held it while praying a specific petition. That night he held it and prayed for a young man in the parish who had been addicted to drugs for 7 years. He prayed the same prayer he had prayed before, but this time he held the crucifix in both hands and did not let go until the prayer was finished. Within 2 weeks, the young man walked into the rectory and asked Father Preston to hear his confession. He said he did not know why he came. He said he woke up that morning and felt something he had not felt in years. He felt wanted. Father Preston asked him what day he woke up with that feeling. It was the morning after the night Father Preston had held the crucifix and prayed. Father Preston did not tell the young man what he had done, but he knew. He knew that what Pope John Paul II had documented was not theory. It was the living truth of how heaven responds when faith is made visible. Father Preston decided that week to find the people in his parish who had been praying for years without seeing their petitions answered. He would share what he had discovered. He would teach them what Pope John Paul II had documented. He would give them what they had been missing. Father Preston saw Teresa Morgan at daily Mass every morning at 7. He knew she arrived early and stayed late. He knew she lit candles in front of the statue of Our Lady of Sorrows. One morning in early December, he waited until she finished her candles and approached her near the side door of the church. It was cold outside. The streets were empty. The sun had not yet risen above the row houses. Father Preston said, "Teresa, can I ask you something?" She turned and nodded. He said, "You have been praying for your daughter for a long time." She looked at him and her eyes filled. She said, "Every single day, Father, every single day for 3 years, I do not think God is listening anymore." Father Preston said, "God is listening, but I want to share something with you that Pope John Paul II documented about why some of our prayers feel like they are not reaching him. You have been praying with your voice, but you have not been holding what would carry your petition directly to heaven." Teresa said, "What do you mean, holding something?" Father Preston reached into his pocket and pulled out a small wooden rosary. He said, "When you pray for your daughter tonight, hold this rosary in your hands. Do not just say the prayers, hold it. Let it rest in your palms. Feel the weight of it." Pope John Paul II wrote that a blessed object held during prayer becomes a visible sign of your faith. And that visibility draws the attention of heaven because it mirrors the incarnation, the moment when God made himself visible to us. Your petition is no longer just words. It is carried by the intercession of Our Lady herself. Teresa looked at the rosary in his hand. She said, "I have prayed the rosary 1,000 times. Father Preston said, "But have you held it and asked Mary to carry your petition to her son while you prayed? Not just said the prayers, asked her, out loud, and held it until you felt her take it from you?" Something shifted in Teresa. She reached out and took the rosary from his hand. She said, "What do I say?" Father Preston said, "Tonight, before you sleep, sit somewhere quiet. Hold this rosary in both hands. Say one Hail Mary out loud. Then say this: 'Mary, I place my daughter in your hands. Carry this petition to your son. Let him see my faith made visible.' Then hold the rosary and do not let go until you feel peace. That peace is the sign that she has taken your petition." Teresa nodded. She folded the rosary into her coat pocket and walked out into the cold morning. If you are watching this, you are not watching by accident. You are watching because you have been praying for something or someone for so long that you have started to wonder if your prayers are even reaching God. You have said the words. You have offered the intentions. You have done everything you were taught to do, but something has been missing, and what has been missing is not your faith. It is the knowledge of what to hold while you pray, so that your petition is carried not by your voice alone, but by the intercession of the object itself. That night, Teresa sat in her small living room in South Philadelphia. It was 11:30. The house was silent. She took the rosary from her coat pocket and sat on the edge of her chair near the window. She could see the streetlight outside. She could hear a car pass on the street below. She held the rosary in both hands and said one Hail Mary out loud. Her voice shook. Then she said, "Mary, I place my daughter in your hands. Carry this petition to your son. Let him see my faith made visible." She held the rosary and did not let go. She felt the wooden beads press into her palms. She felt the weight of it. She felt her breathing slow. She did not know how long she sat there, but at some point the tightness in her chest released. She felt something she had not felt in 3 years. She felt heard. She went to bed at midnight. She fell asleep holding the rosary under her pillow. At 5:47 the next morning, her phone rang. She woke and reached for it in the dark. The screen said her daughter's name. She answered. Her daughter's voice said, "Mum, I do not know why I am calling. I just woke up and I felt like I needed to talk to you." Teresa sat up in bed. She said, "I have been praying for you." Her daughter said, "I know. I think I felt it." 3 days later, her daughter came to visit. 7 days later, they went to Mass together for the first time in 3 years. 14 days later, her daughter asked Teresa to pray with her before bed. Teresa held the rosary. Her daughter held her hand. They prayed together. Teresa said later, "I do not know what happened that night. I know I held that rosary and I asked Mary to carry my petition. And I know that before sunrise my daughter called me. I had prayed for 3 years, but I had never held anything blessed while I prayed. I had never asked Mary to carry my petition to her son. The moment I did, everything changed. I do not think my prayers were ignored before. I think they were waiting for me to make my faith visible." Margaret Sullivan was 71 years old. She lived in a small apartment in Scranton, Pennsylvania. She had been praying for her grandson for 4 years. He had left the church when he was 19. He had stopped speaking to the family about faith. He had told Margaret once on the phone that he did not believe in God anymore. Since that day, Margaret had prayed a rosary for him every single night. She attended Mass every Sunday at St. Paul Parish on Green Ridge Street. She lit candles. She asked the priest to pray. She made a novena to St. Monica. Nothing changed. Her grandson did not return to the church. He did not return to prayer. Margaret felt her petitions dissolve into silence. One afternoon in January of 2020, a friend told her about what Father Preston had shared with Teresa Morgan in Philadelphia. Margaret called the parish and asked to speak to Father Preston. He told her the same thing he had told Teresa. That night, Margaret sat in her small living room and held a wooden crucifix her husband had given her before he passed away. She held it in both hands and said one Our Father out loud. Then she said, "Jesus, I place my grandson in your hands. Let him feel your love. Carry this petition to the Father. Let him see my faith made visible." She held the crucifix and did not let go until she felt peace. 9 days later, her grandson called her and asked if he could come visit. When he arrived, he told her he had been thinking about her every single night for the past week. He said he did not know why, but he felt like he needed to talk to her about God again. Margaret said, "I held a crucifix and prayed for you. I asked Jesus to carry my petition." Her grandson looked at her and said, "I think he did." Linda Patterson was 64 years old. She lived in Richmond, Virginia. She had been praying for her sister for 2 years. Her sister had been diagnosed with a condition that doctors could not explain. She had been to 6 different specialists. She had tried 4 different treatments. Nothing had worked. Linda prayed every single morning before work. She said a rosary at lunch in her car. She attended Mass on Sundays at Sacred Heart Parish on Grove Avenue. She felt her prayers hit a wall. One evening in February, a woman at her parish told her about what had happened to Teresa Morgan and Margaret Sullivan. Linda went home that night and took out a small medal of Our Lady of Perpetual Help that she had kept in her dresser drawer for 30 years. She sat on her bed and held the medal in both hands. She said one Hail Mary out loud. Then she said, "Mary, I place my sister in your hands. Carry this petition to your Son. Let him heal her. Let him see my faith made visible." She held the medal and did not let go until the tightness in her chest released. 11 days later, her sister called and said the doctors had found something they had missed before. They said they could treat it. They said she would recover. Linda said, "I held a medal of Our Lady and prayed for you. I asked her to carry my petition to Jesus." Her sister said, "I felt something shift 11 days ago. I woke up and I felt different. I felt like someone was praying for me." 3 women, 3 different cities, 3 different petitions, the same action, the same result. Each woman held something blessed while she prayed. Each woman asked for her petition to be carried to heaven. Each woman felt her petition reach God in a way it had not reached him before. This is not coincidence. This is the pattern Pope John Paul II documented. When you hold a blessed object while you pray, your petition is no longer carried by your voice alone. It is carried by the intercession attached to that object, and heaven responds. Pope John Paul II understood this because he lived it. He wrote extensively about sacramentals in Rosarium Virginis Mariae and in his catechesis on the sacramental life of the Church. He documented that physical objects blessed by the Church were not decoration. They were channels of grace. He wrote that when a person holds a blessed object during prayer, that object becomes a sign of faith made visible, and that visibility itself mirrors the incarnation. God did not remain invisible. He became flesh. He made himself visible so that we could see him, touch him, hold him. When you hold something blessed while you pray, you are doing the same thing. You are making your faith visible, and heaven sees it. Pope John Paul II drew this teaching from the ancient tradition of the Church. From the very beginning, Christians used blessed objects during prayer. They held relics of the saints. They kissed icons. They touched the hem of Christ's garment. They carried pieces of cloth that had touched the bodies of the apostles. These were not superstitions. They were acts of faith made visible. And God responded to them. In the Gospel of Mark chapter 5, a woman who had been bleeding for 12 years touched the cloak of Jesus and was healed instantly. Jesus said to her, "Your faith has made you well." Her faith was not invisible. It was made visible in the act of reaching out and touching his cloak. When you hold something blessed while you pray, you are reaching out and touching the hem of his garment again. Saint Thérèse of Lisieux wrote in her autobiography that she kept a small crucifix under her pillow and held it every night while she prayed for missionaries. She said she believed her prayers were carried to God through the wounds of Christ made visible in that crucifix. Pope John Paul II referenced this practice in his writings on the communion of saints. He understood that the physical world and the spiritual world were not separate. They were connected, and blessed objects were the points of connection. When you hold something blessed while you pray, you are not praying alone. You are praying with the intercession of the saint whose image or relic you hold. You are praying with the intercession of Our Lady if you hold a rosary or a Marian medal. You are praying with the wounds of Christ if you hold a crucifix. Your petition is no longer just your voice. It is a chorus, and God hears it before you receive the complete instruction for what to hold and how to hold it while you pray. You must know what would prevent your petition from reaching heaven, even if you hold the right object. There are 2 blockages. The first blockage is holding the object without speaking your petition out loud. You have been taught to pray silently. You have been taught that God hears your thoughts, and He does. But Pope John Paul II documented that when you hold a blessed object during prayer, the petition must be spoken, not shouted, not repeated endlessly, spoken once, clearly, with the intention of placing that petition into the hands of the saint or into the wounds of Christ. If you hold the object and remain silent, the connection is incomplete. Your faith is not yet made fully visible. Speak the petition. Let the words leave your mouth. Let them become physical sound that carries your intention into the object you're holding. Patricia Caldwell was 69 years old. She lived in Tucson, Arizona. She had been praying for her son for 5 years. He had been in a difficult marriage and would not leave, even though he was suffering. Patricia prayed every day. A friend told her about holding a blessed object while praying. Patricia took a small medal of St. Joseph and held it in her hands while she prayed silently for her son. She did this for 3 weeks. Nothing changed. She called the friend and said, "I have been holding the medal just like you said. It is not working." The friend asked, "Did you speak your petition out loud?" Patricia said, "No, I prayed silently like I always do." The friend said, "You have to speak it. Say it out loud. Let St. Joseph hear your voice." That night, Patricia held the medal again. This time she said out loud, "St. Joseph, I place my son in your hands. Protect him. Give him the courage to choose what is right. Carry this petition to Jesus." She spoke the words clearly. She did not whisper, she spoke. 5 days later, her son called and said he had decided to leave the marriage. He said he did not know what happened, but he woke up one morning and felt a strength he had not felt in years. Patricia said, "I spoke your name out loud to St. Joseph. I asked him to carry my petition." Her son said, "I think he did." To remove this blockage, speak your petition out loud when you hold the object. Do not keep it silent. Let your voice carry your faith into the physical world. The second blockage is holding an object that has not been blessed. You have objects in your home that are beautiful. They are meaningful. But if they have not been blessed by a priest, they are not sacramentals. They do not carry the intercession of the Church. Pope John Paul II was clear about this in his writings on sacramentals. A blessed object is different from an unblessed object, not because of its appearance, but because of the prayer of the Church spoken over it. That prayer connects the object to the intercession of the saints and to the grace of God. If you hold an object that has not been blessed, your petition is still heard by God, but it is not carried by the intercession attached to that object. The connection is weaker. Sharon Phelps was 66 years old. She lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. She had been praying for her husband's health for 2 years. He had been diagnosed with a heart condition that was worsening. Sharon bought a small wooden cross at a gift shop and held it every night while she prayed for him. She did this for a month. Nothing changed. One Sunday after Mass, she spoke to the priest and told him what she was doing. He asked, "Is the cross blessed?" She said, "I do not know. I bought it at a store." He said, "Bring it to me. I will bless it." Sharon brought the cross to the rectory that afternoon. The priest blessed it with holy water and said a prayer over it. That night, Sharon held the blessed cross and prayed for her husband. She said out loud, "Jesus, I place my husband in your hands. Heal him, strengthen his heart, carry this petition to the Father." She held the cross and did not let go until she felt peace. 12 days later, her husband went to the doctor for a follow-up appointment. The doctor said the condition had stabilized. He said he did not have an explanation for why. Sharon said, "I held a blessed cross and prayed for you. I asked Jesus to heal you." Her husband said, "I think he did." To remove this blockage, take the object you plan to hold to a priest and ask him to bless it. If you do not have a blessed object, ask the priest for one. Most parishes have blessed medals, rosaries, and crucifixes available. Do not hold something unblessed. and expect it to carry your petition. Make sure it has been blessed by the Church. If you have just heard yourself in those 2 blockages, you are not alone. You have been holding objects, but not speaking. Or you have been speaking, but not holding something blessed. Tonight, you will do both. And when you do, the petition you have been praying for years will finally reach heaven the way Pope John Paul II documented. How much longer will you keep praying the same way and expecting a different result? How much longer will you let your petitions dissolve into silence when the solution is sitting in your drawer or hanging on your wall, waiting to be held? What will happen to the person you are praying for if you do not act on what you have just received? Will they continue to suffer because you did not hold what would carry your petition to heaven? What could your prayers do for the people you love if you removed the blockages and held what Pope John Paul II documented? What if the daughter who has not spoken to you in years calls you tomorrow morning because tonight you held a rosary and asked Mary to carry your petition? What if the grandson who left the church comes back because you held a crucifix and asked Jesus to carry your petition? What if the sister who has been sick for years is healed because you held a medal and asked Our Lady to carry your petition? When your time comes and you stand before God, what will you say about this moment? Will you say you heard what Pope John Paul II documented and you did nothing? Or will you say you held what he told you to hold and you watched heaven respond? Pope John Paul II prayed through suffering that most of us will never know. He prayed through an assassination attempt. He prayed through the final years of his life when his body was failing and he could barely speak. He prayed when his prayers felt like they were hitting a wall, and he held something blessed every single time. He held his rosary, he held a crucifix, he held relics of the saints. He documented what happened when he did. He documented that his petitions reached heaven not because of his words alone, but because he made his faith visible by holding what carried his prayers directly to God. He left this knowledge for you. He left it for this moment. He left it for tonight. In the final years of his pontificate, Pope John Paul II could no longer speak clearly during his public audiences. His voice was weak, his body trembled, but those who were close to him documented that he never stopped holding his rosary during private prayer. Even when he could not speak the words, he held it. Even when his hands shook, he held it. He understood that the object itself carried his petitions when his voice could not. Cardinal Stanislaw Dziwisz, his personal secretary for nearly 40 years, wrote that in the last months of his life, Pope John Paul II would hold a small crucifix against his chest while he prayed at night. He would not let go of it. He held it until he fell asleep. Cardinal Dziwisz wrote that the Holy Father believed his prayers were most powerful when his hands were wrapped around something that made his faith visible to heaven. That was not weakness. That was wisdom. What you are about to receive is what Pope John Paul II lived and documented. It is not theory. It is the practice that sustained him through every trial. And tonight, it will sustain you. Tonight, before you sleep, take a blessed object from your home. If you have a rosary, take it. If you have a crucifix, take it. If you have a medal of Our Lady or a saint, take it. If you do not have any of these, go to your parish tomorrow and ask the priest for a blessed medal or rosary. Do not wait. Do this tonight if you can. If you cannot do it tonight because you do not have a blessed object, go tomorrow and then begin tomorrow night. Sit somewhere quiet in your home. Turn off the television. Put your phone in another room. Sit in a chair or on the edge of your bed. Hold the blessed object in both hands. Do not hold it loosely. Hold it firmly. Feel the weight of it in your palms. Feel the texture of it. Look at it. Let your eyes rest on the image of Christ or Mary or the saint whose intercession you are invoking. Say one prayer out loud. If you are holding a rosary, say one Hail Mary. If you are holding a crucifix, say one, Our Father. If you are holding a medal of a saint, say one prayer to that saint. Speak the words clearly. Do not rush. Let each word carry your intention. Then speak your petition out loud. Say the name of the person you are praying for. Say what you are asking God to do. Do not be vague. Be specific. Say, Mary, I place my daughter in your hands. Carry this petition to your son. Let him bring her back to the church. Or say, Jesus, I place my husband in your hands. Heal his body, strengthen his heart. Carry this petition to the Father. Or say, Saint Joseph, I place my son in your hands. Protect him, give him courage. Carry this petition to Jesus. Speak the petition once. Do not repeat it endlessly. Speak it once with complete sincerity. Then hold the object and do not let go. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly. Do not think about anything else. Do not worry about whether it is working. Just hold it. Feel the connection between your hands and the object. Feel the connection between the object and heaven. Hold it until you feel peace. You will know when the peace comes. It is not a loud feeling. It is quiet. It is the release of the tightness in your chest. It is the sense that your petition has been taken from you and carried somewhere you cannot see. Hold this when you pray and your petitions reach heaven. That is what Pope John Paul II documented. That is what Teresa Morgan did. That is what Margaret Sullivan did. That is what Linda Patterson did. That is what you will do tonight. Hold it. Speak your petition. Do not let go until you feel peace. And when you do, your petition will no longer be floating in the air around you. It will be carried by the intercession of the one whose image you hold. Do this tonight. Do it tomorrow night. Do it every night for 1 week. Hold the same object. Speak the same petition. Do not change the words. Let the repetition build. Let the intercession accumulate. After 1 week, write down what has changed. Write down any phone call you received. Write down any shift you felt. Write down any sign you saw. You will see something. You will feel something. Because heaven responds when faith is made visible. If you need to take the object with you during the day, take it. Put it in your pocket. Hold it while you drive. Hold it while you sit at the doctor's office. Hold it while you wait for news. Let it be the physical reminder that your petition is no longer yours alone. It has been carried. Hold this. Speak clearly. Do not let go until peace comes. Tonight you will do exactly what Teresa Morgan did on the night before her daughter called. You will sit in a quiet place in your home at the same hour she sat, 11:30. If that hour does not work for you, choose an hour when you will not be interrupted. Sit with the blessed object in your hands. Say one Hail Mary if you are holding a rosary. Say one Our Father if you are holding a crucifix. Then speak your petition out loud. Name the person. Name what you are asking. Be specific. Ask Mary or Jesus or the saint to carry your petition to heaven. Then hold the object and do not let go until you feel peace. That peace is not your imagination. Pope John Paul II believed that peace was the sign that your petition had been received. He believed that when you felt the tightness release, that was the moment your petition was taken from your hands and carried to the throne of God. He believed that every petition spoken with sincerity and held with faith reached heaven. Not every petition was answered the way the person wanted, but every petition was heard, and when faith was made visible through a blessed object held in prayer, the answer came faster. Do this tonight. Hold what you have been given. Speak what you have been carrying. Do not let go until peace comes. And then watch what happens. There is someone in your life who needs to hear this. She has been praying for someone for years, and nothing has changed. She goes to Mass. She says her rosary. She does everything the church asks. But her prayers feel like they are dissolving into silence. She does not know what you just learned. She does not know what to hold. She does not know that her petition can be carried directly to heaven if she makes her faith visible. Think of the woman in your parish who sits 3 pews behind you and lights candles every Sunday for someone she never talks about. Think of your daughter or your granddaughter who told you last month that she has been praying for something and it feels like God is not listening. Think of your friend who has been asking you to pray for her because she does not think her own prayers are strong enough anymore. Share this with her, not because this channel needs it, because she needs it. She needs to know what Pope John Paul II documented. She needs to know what to hold and how to hold it and what to say when she does. If you do not tell her, who will? If you do not share this today, how many more weeks will she keep praying the same way and feeling her petitions fall short? Grace has always multiplied in the Church this way. One woman receives it. She shares it with the next. That woman shares it with the next. And before long, an entire generation knows what they did not know before. You are part of that chain tonight. You received this. Now pass it on. May the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit rest on every petition you place in their hands tonight. And may the object you hold carry your faith directly to the throne of grace. May Pope John Paul II, who held his rosary through every trial and every darkness, intercede for you now and present your petition to Our Lady, who carried every sorrow to her Son. When you hold what he held and speak what he spoke, your petition will reach heaven, and heaven will respond. You are not praying alone anymore.